India is a place unique in space, beaded with the pearls of unity, saving itself with its originality and serving as an epitome of unity in diversity. Hello everyone, I am Sakchi Suryavanshi and today we will be presenting on the topic Independence of the Comptroller and Auditor General of India. The Comptroller and Auditor General of India is also called the CAG of India and it is established under Article 148 of the Constitution of India. The Auditor General is also empowered to audit all the receipts and expenditures of the Government of India and also the state government in a requisite period of time. The CAG is also called the statutory auditor of the government-owned corporations, where the government equity shares is of 51%. The CAG is appointed and nominated by the President of India. G.C. Murmu is the current Comptroller and Auditor General of India, and hence he serves as the head of the Accounts Department of the Government of India. The Comptroller and Auditor General of India has a great significance in India's constitutional democracy. Some of them are as follows. Number 1. The receipts and expenditures of the Government of India is completely audited by the Comptroller and Auditor General of India. Number 2. It helps in grants and loans given by the government to diverse bodies and authorities for specific purposes. The CAG is also described as an official which is mandated by the Constitution to act as a watchdog on the government finances and its functioning. Hence, it also helps to promote accountability. It also helps in the preparation of various financial statements such as trading and manufacturing account, the balance sheets, because all of these financial statements are kept under the CAG in the government offices and their departments. He or she is also the head of the Indian Audit and the Accounts Department, hence they have a duty to uphold the Constitution of India and the laws of the Parliament to safeguard the interests of the public exchequer. Apart from the diverse significance and achievements of the CAG of India, there are many reforms presented over the years as well. In 2012, Lal Krishna Advani, an Indian politician and former Deputy Prime Minister of India, suggested that CAG's appointment should be made by something called as a bipartisan collegium, which should be consisting of the Prime Minister, the Chief Justice of India, and the leaders of the opposition in the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Eventually, the then Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu also approved the suggestion. Advani made this demand to remove any impression of bias and lack of transparency and fairness because according to him, the current system was open to manipulation and partisanship. A similar demand was also put forward by the CEC such as B.B. Tandon, but the Government of India did not seem so keen. Over to AASTHA.
There are various constitutional and legal provisions that safeguard the independence of the institution of the Comptroller and Auditor General of India. The existence and mandate of the Comptroller and Auditor General of India emanate from Articles 148 to 151 of the Constitution. Article 148 broadly speaks of the CAG, his appointment, oath, and conditions of service. According to Article 149, the Parliament is empowered to prescribe the powers and duties of the CAG in relation to the accounts of the Union and the states. Article 150, the Auditor General has the power to prescribe the form and manner in which the accounts of the Union and the state shall be kept subject to the approval of the President. And under Article 151, the reports of the CAG relating to the accounts of the Union are submitted to the President and those of the states are submitted to the governors. Parliament passed the Duties, Powers and Conditions of Service Act 1971, which lays down the general principle of government accounting and the broad principles in regard of the audit of receipts and expenditure. In light of changes in the Indian polity such as the increasing role of civil society and NGOs, liberalization, etc., this act must be reviewed to bring greater accountability and transparency. Various regulations on audit and accounts are framed and notified in the official gazette and within the audit mandate. The Comptroller and Auditor General is the sole authority to decide the scope and extent of the audit to be conducted by him or in his behalf. There is scope both for the widening and for the intensifying of the role of the CAG for the better realization of democratic ideals embodied in the Constitution. For the effective functioning of this important institution of the CAG, it is paramount to ensure independence. There are several provisions enshrined in the Constitution to safeguard CAG's independence. He is provided with security of tenure and can be removed by the President only in accordance with the procedure mentioned in the Constitution. He is also not eligible for further office either under the Government of India or of any state after he ceases to hold his office. His salary and other service conditions, though determined by the Parliament, cannot be varied to his disadvantage after his appointment. His administrative powers and conditions of service of personnel serving in the Indian Audit and Accounts Department shall be prescribed by the President only after consulting him. And the administrative expenses of the office of CAG, including all salaries, allowances, and pensions of persons serving in that office, are charged upon the Consolidated Fund of India and are not subject to the vote of Parliament.
Recent instances of how the independence of CAG was undermined or misused. A 2012 CAG report on coal mine allocation received massive media and political reaction as well as public outrage. The report criticized the government by saying it had the authority to allocate coal blocks by process of competitive bidding but chose not to. As a result, both PSCs and private firms paid less. As you can see, there's a significant difference between the figures in the draft and the final report. The initial CAG report suggested that the coal blocks could have been allocated more efficiently for more government revenue, but at no point did it suggest that corruption was involved. However, the corruption in the allocation of coal dominated the discussion. In response to a complaint by the BJP, the CVC directed the CBI and they named a dozen Indian firms in an FIR. These FIRs accused them of overstating their net worth, no disclosure, and hoarding. The CBI officials investigating the case had speculated that bribery may be involved.
Coming in second in the list of the top 10 abuses of power of all times by Time magazine after the Watergate scandal that cost Nixon his presidency is the 2G spectrum scam, also known as the biggest scam of the independent India. A. Raja, the leader of DMK, which was a regional party in alliance with the current party in power, was the accused perpetrator of the entire scam along with the favorite companies and Kanimozhi. CBI alleged that Kanimozhi was an active brain behind the operations and that she worked along with A. Raja to get DB Realty promoter Tushar Balwa periphrastically route about $36.2 million to Kalaina TV, which Kanimozhi had a 20% stake in and was also run by her family. As Supreme Court declares it, A. Raja unconstitutionally and arbitrarily allocated spectrum licenses to favored parties like Unitech and Swan Telecom that was allegedly a front company for Reliance in exchange of bribes speculated up to $500 million. As the spectrum was sold in 2008 at the market value of 2001, the report issued by the then CAG Vinod Rai speculated a presumptive revenue loss of 1.76 lakh crores or $24 billion. All the speculations of profit, loss, and no loss were put to rest on 2nd February 2012 when the Supreme Court of India on a public interest litigation quashed all the 122 licenses issued in 2008 during tenure of A. Raja, the main accused.
Accountability is a sine qua non, an essential condition to good democratic governance. The CAG of India, who has been given an independent position under the Constitution of India, is the instrument that ensures and promotes accountability of the executive to Parliament. The current practice adopted for the appointment of the CAG is that the Cabinet Secretary prepares a shortlist for the Finance Minister, who then submits it before the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister recommends one name from that list to the President. If the President approves the same, the appointment of CAG is made by warrant under the hand and seal of the President. Such procedure is faulty as there is a conflict of interest. The CAG is an auditor of the Government of India, which is headed by the Prime Minister. If the head of the auditee is to select an individual from auditing his organization, there is danger of some pliable person becoming the CAG and it may dilute the accountability process. It may never happen, but independence and objectivity in the selection process must not only be there but also appear to be there. Even in the case of companies, the Act provides an auditor to appointed by the AGM. Our Constitution provides that the President acts on the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers. However, by inserting the words that the CAG shall be appointed by the President by warrant under his hand and seal, the makers of the constitution probably wanted the appointment of the CAG to be made in an independent manner. With this, we have come to the end of the presentation. Thank you.